What's up, guys? It's Donnie, joined by Josh Adams. We're back in the High Side studio for a quick episode. We're going to go over some things that happened over the previous weekend and talk about some of the throwback cars we've been seeing posted up by some of the race teams. Josh, you want to give us a quick rundown of the recap from last weekend?
Yeah, so just a few things. We've been keeping up with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola series on iRacing, and Steven Wilson won his third race of the season already. He became the third eNASCAR, or the first eNASCAR driver to win 3 of the first 4 races. So that's a pretty impressive stat with all the competition over there. He did what Christopher Bell did on the sim in real life, so that was pretty impressive. And we saw Kyle Larson win 2 of the races last weekend at Homestead. He won the truck race. He was on his way probably to winning the Xfinity race, but Justin Allgaier got that one and the Dash for Cash prize. And then, no surprise, Larson won the Cup race as well. So
Yeah, so yeah, Larson's actually apparently on a tear right now. That would be his 30th career victory, which would be his 24th with Hendrick. Making him third all time. I assume that's going to put him behind Gordon and Johnson.
yes, he's still got a long way to go, but he's got a lot of career left. I don't think he'll get either of those two, but you never know.
Yeah, I think I seen somewhere it was a title or something like that. Him saying that he would have had more wins if it were the Gen 6 car in comparison to the next gen car. So, but I may be misquoting that. I didn't click on the article or anything.
I don't doubt it. His career definitely turned for the better when he got to Hendrick Motorsports, but we saw him do a lot of great stuff with Ganassi. He had a 4-win season back in 2017 before he came to Hendrick and won 24 races.
Yes, absolute badass behind the wheel. Basically a chef out there on the racetrack. We won't have a main story this week, but we have a few sub stories. And Josh, I know you're not too excited about this one in particular, but we're going to lead off with Ryan Blaney getting his third DNF in a row, first in his career to have that kind of stat. So I can't remember what the second DNF was for, but we've had 2, I believe, engine failures of those 3. So I would have to assume they're trying to come up with something to make those cars faster, and it's not working out.
Well, it's working out for the speed. It's just not making it to the end of the race. But his other 2 teammates, Cindric and Logano, they're making it to the end of the races. But he's been having more speed than them. So there's got to be something that they're trying, maybe a little bit different. But the good thing is they are bringing speed to the track. Eventually, the bad luck bug will go away, and he'll close out some races, hopefully. But it's always better, obviously, to have that kind of bad stat early in the season rather than late.
Yeah, you kind of figure out what needs to be what kinks need to be worked out now rather than middle to late, especially going into the chase. That would be a disaster. Hell, that would have already knocked him out of the round of 16 technically if we were in that portion of the season. So yeah, big detriment that would have been. So I imagine they're thankful it's happening now instead of later. So
yeah, they'll definitely get it worked out. Him and Jonathan Hassler, they work pretty good together. He's just 2 years removed from the championship, finished second last year. So they've got the pace and the experience. They'll get it righted, and it won't be an issue by the end of the season.
Yeah, interesting to see Penske firing off so fast, though. Usually we wait until mid to late season before they start doing that.
Yeah, they've like we documented last week. They've led a lot of laps this season. They just haven't been around right at the end. We saw Ryan Blaney lead 120 laps or so at Homestead, and he looked like the car to beat until there pretty late before he had that accident with his blown engine.
Yeah, and a more positive thing that's happened over Homestead, if you can consider it positive. I mean, he hadn't gotten a checkered flag yet, but AJ Allmendinger's got the best average finish out of all the drivers right now at Miami.
It's a pretty incredible stat. Like, they went talking about it on the broadcast. We think AJ as a road course ace, which he is, and you don't really expect him to be up there contending maybe as much on the ovals in the Cup Series, but out of drivers that have made at least 5 starts at the track, his last 4 finishes there are 3rd, 5th, 8th, and 7th. So that's the best all-time average finish at Homestead, which is, it's another surprising stat, but I guess not to him. He's been having a lot of really good success, and he probably, like the Penske boys, like the championship race being at Phoenix, if he was to get lucky and get in the 16, he'd probably be like, man, let's change this back to Homestead.
Yeah, no kidding. I like AJ Allmendinger. It's cool to see him around, and I'm sure he would definitely love to see it go back to at least some mile and a half, like cookie cutter style, like Miami, but or even a road course. I doubt we'll ever see a championship finale at a road course, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, AJ's a very easy guy to like. He's got a really good personality, and whenever it's going good for him, you can tell he loves to have success. Everybody does, but you can just tell it means more to him than it might for some other guys that have it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So another driver that left Miami with a good solid statistic for themselves be Ryan Preece. Back-to-back top 10 finishes for that driver. That's the 3rd time he's gotten it in his career. I don't have anything pulled up to recall the last 2 times that it happened, but you got to imagine he's fitting in pretty well with his new team over at RFK Racing.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, he's sitting 16th in points. That last race gained him 2 spots in the standings. So, as they sit, he's it's still early, 6 races in. He's the last guy in on points. Like, he would be making the playoffs at this point. So, compared to, not to add any salt into your wound, compared to Brad Keselowski, he's running pretty good and maybe better than you would have maybe even expected at this point.
Yeah. See, well, my assumption would have been because Matt McCall had left the team. We got Jeremy Bolins on with the 6 now. So I assumed going into this season we would see the 6 fire off a little earlier than they would have in the past. But instead, it's been the 17 and the 60 that's firing off, and Brad has dropped anchor.
Yeah, which this weekend at Martinsville could be potentially a decent track for Brad to kind of gain some traction. It's a track he's always had great success at, and if it doesn't happen this week, maybe Darlington. We saw both him and Buescher have a chance there. One of the last times they ran there, so.
Yep. So looking, and I think Ryan Preece. I mean, I saw a tweet from RFK Racing. Isn't that his favorite track, Martinsville, or was it Homestead?
Oh, Ryan Preece. I mean, I don't know necessarily if he's said Martinsville is his favorite, but I wouldn't doubt it. He's a short track modified guy. That definitely fits his driving style. He's already had success there in the Cup Series back with SHR. So, if he can start up front this weekend somewhere around there, he might not have a chance to win, but he might have a chance to extend to that top 10 streak he's got going.
Yeah, I'm feeling a pretty positive weekend coming for that team as an organization altogether. 6, 17, and 60, I think. Hopefully we'll have a good weekend. So I guess let's lead right into the picks. Our picks for Martinsville. I guess I'll start them off. I guess I'll go with Priest. I mean, last week I picked Cindric. I felt like I should have went with Larson, but I picked Cindric because the Penske cars have been running so well. So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna go with my gut feeling this week, and I'm gonna go with Ryan Priest.
Yeah, and I think you ended up getting the closest last week at Homestead. And I remember Bradley Cooper told us that Josh Berry was going to go back to back. That did not happen. I told you that you were wrong, and I said Reddick was going to win at Homestead. But I'm going to tell you that you're wrong again, and I'm actually going to go with my favorite driver this weekend. I'm going to say that Ryan Blaney gets off the bad luck train and gets back into victory lane and gets another grandfather clock at Martinsville.
Yeah, I forgot about Blaney for a second. He's the new Mark Martin of Martinsville. It's gonna be called Blaney'sville by the time we're done with it.
Yeah, he always he might not start the best, but he ends up with some long run speed that we just haven't been able to see people have in the next gen car. And I feel like he's been one of the guys that whenever he starts, 10th or worse or so, or gets back there by virtue of maybe some kind of penalty or something, he just always seems to be one of those guys that can actually pass people. And he's been doing that consistently the last couple of times they've been at Martinsville. So I wouldn't see any reason why he doesn't have a really good shot to win. And he's bringing back the advanced auto parts car. We saw him win in that car last year at Iowa.
Yeah, I try to look back at the race at Bowman Gray earlier this season, and I can't put a cover over the 9 either because he was pretty bad fast at that track, and I know Blaney said that he didn't want to move Elliott in that moment, but do you think especially with how Blaney's season has gone so far, do you feel like the 9 is getting knocked out of the way at Martinsville?
Yeah, I think when the points are actually on the line and the playoffs are on the line, and as easy as it is to get in, just if you win a race, I wouldn't see any reason why somebody wouldn't knock a buddy out of the way to win to make sure they get in the playoffs. You want him to wreck him, but I wouldn't see any reason why they wouldn't trade some paint.
Should definitely be a fun one to watch. We're going to check out a couple of clips first, and then we're going to rate some throwback cars that have been released by some of the teams for the Cup Series. We'll start off with Chase Elliott's pit road entry violation, if the editors will throw that up for us.
Yeah, we'll see him come down here and follow an Austin Cindric and pull to his left. He said that the field stacked up in front of him and he pulled left to avoid, getting into a bumper to bumper crash, basically. And I think we can all tell that he left a pretty good gap to Austin Cindric and looks like he kind of pulled left on his own. So I don't think NASCAR is really buying that he was just on Cindric and didn't want to wreck. So he got the penalty for it.
Yeah, that didn't look like anything accurate to what Chase might have been trying to explain.
Yeah,
good call there.
Yeah, he kind of cried about it for a minute, which is understandable. You don't want to lose the track position, but he's like, oh, they need to look at that. They need to look at that. I gave the spot back, and whether you give the spot back or not, that's the rule. That, in my opinion, is no different than the changing lanes rule before the green flag, before you get to the start finish line on a green flag. If you pull out a line to start a race or to start a restart, you're getting penalized, and that's the exact same deal they have coming onto pit road. So, I mean, if you disagree with that, but you agreed with Joey Logano getting penalized at Phoenix for going under the line by 2 inches, probably got something wrong with you.
Let us know in the comments. Speaking of Joey,
Chase Elliott fans are definitely against it, but they'll be okay with Logano getting penalized any day of the week.
Yes, absolutely. The Chase Elliott fans are gonna love us after this episode. We did point out how fast he is at flat track, so I don't want to hear it. So
We've got a throwback paint scheme we'll talk about here in a minute.
yeah, I'm sure you're gonna love us after that too. So Logano, speaking of Joey Logano, him and Josh Berry, Mr. Bradley Cooper's pick, had a incident on lap 84 at pit entry. Editors, go ahead and toss that one up for us.
Yeah, so we see Logano finishing his service, and just like we saw last week, he's just going to collide with another car, and these two cars ended up both pitting backwards. It's kind of funny to see. Like, we got a lot of that last week, and then we're continuing it at Homestead. It's pretty entertaining stuff coming down pit road.
So I've noticed now we've had a couple of incidents over the last couple of weeks, actually, where drivers trying to get out of their pit box end up running into another driver. Was Logano part of the last one too?
Yeah, I think was some of the contact they had last week. Definitely not as bad as that, but I remember them taping up the front of the car. But I know they were asking him. He did a couple interviews prior to Martinsville, and maybe what he would like to see changed. And he mentioned maybe one of the next times they come to Homestead, they should think about widening out the pit road, because it's a 1.5 mile track, and it's, I think they said, the third narrowest pit road or something that they come on, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's super narrow on the sim because I'm also used to going down pit road at like stupid tracks that have no business having stock cars on. But
yeah, when you see them come in as packed up as they were in that Chase Elliott clip that we showed, like, it's a wonder that stuff doesn't happen more often.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead now and rate some paint schemes before we close out the show. We have Cindrix here. If you could, on a scale of 1 to 3, 1 being you hate it, 3 being you love it, what do you rate this one? A little Earnhardt throwback.
Oh, I would definitely put this a 3. It's a Dale Earnhardt scheme. Anytime you see one of those on the track, whether it's black or yellow and blue, it's always cool to see a nod to the Intimidator.
Yeah, as much as I would have loved to have seen like a throwback to a Miller car, I do like the fact that they threw it back to Earnhardt, and Penske changed the font for a car. That's rare to see. So
I know,
I'm
like
also
you
gonna
said,
say a 3.
Yeah, you said off show that you wish they would go back to the middle of the door number placement for the throwback week, which I agree with. It makes all of them look better, and I think it would even make this one look a little bit better because it kind of just ends up with a lot of negative blue space.
Yeah. Yeah, that would. I wonder how that would look. I'm sure somebody on iRacing has already made it something to look out for. Is that? I'm sorry, this image of Newman in the background caught my.
Looks like he's a little bit crashed up there.
It looks like a game, doesn't it? Like game damage. Is that like 2004 or something?
Maybe.
I know that's real. Whatever that is. Oh, Kyle Larson's. Dude, I can't. This is 2 years in a row they have hit it with the throwback car.
Oh yeah, and whenever they can go back and do just the complete realism, they've got the right number, they've got the right colors. You don't have to sponsor, which nobody's really gonna have that these days. But they even theHendrickCars.com on the side, they put it in that cursive font over there. They've got the Got Cars question mark for the Got Milk, and then they've got a Got Milk on the other side, which is pretty cool too, like rather than the HendrickCars.com. So definitely knocked it out of the park. It looks exactly like the one Labonte drove. So it's really cool when the teams actually make them look accurate.
Yeah, that is so badass. That's easily a 3 for me.
Yeah, same. I always, when I see a car like that, I always want a really, like, one of the good ones to win the race, or to run good. And sometimes there's guys that don't participate. Like if that car was to end up in victory lane, I wouldn't be offended at all.
So I noticed on this car compared to Cindric's, we have the 100th anniversary Goodyear tire. Is this going to be something that's normal on all these cars, or was it just for the render?
Yeah, they'll run that on all the race cars.
That looks nice.
Yeah, they usually do something a little bit special for the tires when it comes to the throwback race.
All right, here is the one I'm sure everyone's excited to hear about. What do you think of this lovely throwback? You'll have to tell me the driver because the only Kodiak car I can recall is obviously Rusty Wallace's '89 car. But
Yeah, so this one's I don't want to say it's a nod back, but it's a throwback, quote unquote, to Ken Schrader. This one, if I was to have to rate it, it would be a -3 on a scale. I think a lot of people would agree, and you can let us know in the comments what you think about this car. But if I don't know if we can throw the original up side by side, maybe, but the top of the car there is gray, and it's supposed to be a dark green. They didn't get the number color right. I understand maybe they didn't change the font, like Cindric did. That's whatever. But they didn't get the number color right. They didn't get the green color on the bottom right, which I mean that's the universe color. It's whatever. I think at the end of the day, usually the sponsor gets the final say. But this just looks like a corporate paint scheme to me, a corporate throwback. They wanted their colors on the car, and they just said, "This is what you're going to do. You're not gonna do what Ken Schrader did. You're going to do it our way." And they didn't even wrap the lines right. The green and yellow over the wheels is weird, but even that yellow color above the green, like that trim, is supposed to be orange or red. So they didn't incorporate all the colors. They didn't do the lines right. Whatever. So definitely -3.
yeah, they really. So here's something I'll say, and this might be my own ignorance of not being able to recognize an old Ken Schrader car, but out of the three cars we've looked at so far, I could not throw this one back in my head. Like this doesn't look like a throwback car to me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Like if again, like I said, if we were able to throw the other one up, you could see where they were trying to come from, but either they just didn't do it right, or Universe didn't let them do it right. I don't know which one it would be, but I'm probably leaning towards Universe just didn't let them do it right.
Yeah, they could. They if Unifirst was kind of strict on their rules, which is understandable. It's up to the sponsor. They could have picked another paint scheme to toss back to that
Oh yeah,
had similar color scheme. I don't know why they were dead set on sticking to that one, but it did it really missed.
well
So
yeah,
yeah,
it
it's a
is.
1.
It is kind of crazy. Like they do have kind of a similar color scheme, with when you think about it, with the green and white, but they just didn't do any of the colors correctly. So yeah, it blows my mind because you will see the other two Hendrick cars, and we've already looked at Larson. We'll see the other two, but they knocked 3 of them out of the park, and then definitely whiffed on the fourth one.
Yep. So 1 for me. But this one, dude, this Denny Hamlin car, whoever the like marketing manager is for Sports Clips, this is how it's done.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, whether it's the teams or the sponsor that has the final say, Sport Clips did it right. They've been in the sport a long time. They've always done great throwbacks. They did a perfectly accurate job, making a rendition of that car on the next gen body. This is a company that cares about the throwback race and the tradition. So Carl Edwards Hall of Fame year, cool to see his paint scheme back on Joe Gibbs car. I know it was Roush, but his final team's Gibbs. But cool to see that car back out for sure.
Yep. This is probably, I mean, it's hard to pick over the 5 car, but this is probably my next favorite one out
Oh
of
yeah,
what we've seen so far.
we saw Carl Edwards win win at Darlington, and you remember when he taped the wall and called it Carlington. Maybe Denny Hamlin, if he's able to win, which we know he always brings good speed to Darlington. He's just got a knack for that track. Maybe he'll get out of the car. He probably won't do a backflip, but maybe he'll get out of the car and rename the track Carlington again.
That would be sick. They better tell him that shit, dude.
But yeah, that's a 3 from me.
3 from me. We haven't gotten any 2s so far. So we're gonna go over here to Christopher Bell. I'm not familiar with this one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it either, but one thing I did read is it's a throwback in honor of Christopher Bell's racing mentor Rick Ferkel. Yeah, I would have to do some more research to see exactly where this car came from. But Bell obviously just looked up to a certain driver and wanted to nod back to him this season.
Yeah, they got quotation marks around the 0. I'm assuming this Rick Ferkel guy drove a 0 car.
That would probably be safe to assume.
So I'm not familiar with the scheme. It looks like they've went throwback with the DeWalt logo. So I really don't know what to judge it. I'm just going to stick with the 2 on this one.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. If we're unsure about the exact origins, I think that's fair. But I mean, you can tell it looks like a throwback. Like that's not
Yes.
something that you would see on the track today. So, definitely a good looking paint scheme, though.
Yeah, I definitely like how that looks. It's very simplistic. This kind of visor design going on the hood. It looks really nice. Oh, this one's going to go back to an IndyCar. I believe this is a Lotus car, and the Wood Brothers was working on with that team as a pit crew. This is when the 60s, or maybe the 80s. I can't remember.
Yeah, the 60s, 1965. Jim Clark ran the Indianapolis 500 with this exact paint scheme. We talked earlier with Cindric how it's always cool when when the teams can get as close to true as possible with these throwbacks, and they definitely did that with this one. Like if you brought up that open wheel car beside this, like the color is right, the yellow on from the front to the back is exactly right how it was, like as best as it could be on a stock car body. Like you've got the black number inside the white circle, like everything is pretty cool about it. Like I wouldn't say it's the best paint, like the best throwback out there, but when you look at a throwback, you don't always consider them to be like, oh man, that's a great paint scheme. But when you can tell it's a throwback, I think that's what makes it great, and this one definitely is.
Yeah, when I look at this, it reminds me of not only the classic IndyCar style paint schemes, but a 1967 Stingray. Like one of they had a Stingray, same exact design on it, just different colors. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah. And I would say just because of the accuracy, I would give this one a 3 as well.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. 3 from me.
Yeah. And before we get too far ahead, Donnie, we're gonna get out of order, but I did just send you a picture of Ryan Blaney's throwback paint scheme. So they finally gave us a picture of that one that we'll get to see.
Okay, nice. Dave Blaney throwback here, the 32 car.
Yep. So this is a throwback to Dave Blaney in 2006. I believe that was a race that Dave actually won. So it's pretty cool. A like father, like son paint scheme. The only difference on this one is the really the sponsor color. Dave had green on his car. Ryan's gonna have blue. But this is again, Team Penske went with the accurate number font.
Yeah, I really like that they're doing that because I love the Penske font, but the fact that they've actually, or that the team has allowed them to change the font for throwbacks like this, I really like it.
Yeah, that's another one of those things that makes the throwback a great throwback is when they take it fully seriously and make it accurate, and even something as simple as the number can really kill one of these paint schemes. So
Yeah, this paint scheme in particular, I miss this kind of style of paint jobs that they used to do. Uh, they don't, and now everything looks pretty bland, pretty straightforward, and very modern. But when you go back to something like this mid 2000s where the paint scheme just pops, I really miss that kind of era.
oh yeah, yeah. It's usually Menards does it very simple. Not usually a lot of flash to their paint schemes, and there's not a lot of flash to this, but it's very similar to what Dave ran, so it stays kind of true to what they usually do. And just so I don't get called bias um, by my buddy Chris Wright, I'll give this one a 2, just because Brian Blaney's car is blue and not green, and I know I gave Chris some craft because of the Chase Elliott paint scheme and how inaccurate that was. I'll say this is a 2 just because it's blue and not green.
Docked for slight color inaccuracy, I'd say is fair, and 2 is still a good spot to sit in. I guess I'm gonna stick with that 2 as well, but it's a close one. Like I could really be happy giving this a 3.
Oh yeah,
So let's jump into the next paint job we have. The 24 car. William
yes,
Byron.
yeah. So this is Jeff Gordon's last race. What he drove in his retirement race at Homestead. So it's obviously an original Hendrick Motorsports paint scheme, so they're able to make the throwback look exactly like the original car. So this is one of those really good ones, just because of that fact that everything from the number down to the colors to the flames and the sponsor is all accurate. So that's this is going to be a 3.
Yeah, 3 as well. Not much to say on it. Jeff Gordon always had some pretty badass paint schemes, especially when he drove with the flames on it. I think even my least favorite scheme that he drove was the like Drive Down Hunger car. Even that was badass. But yeah, we have the 41 Cole Custer. He's going to be running Kurt Busch throwback. It looks like. Am I right about that?
Oh, it's going to be a Jimmy Spencer throwback.
Spencer.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, Jimmy Spencer to 2000.
You know what it
And
was? I missed because Jimmy Spencer and Kurt Busch had that rivalry, so I mistook it. I flipped it.
oh yeah, they had a pretty great rivalry back in the day. I think we talked about it pre-recording. So when Kurt Busch got out of his car after Jimmy wrecked him at Indianapolis, and Kurt gave him a little smack on the ass as he went by under caution.
Yeah, I like that one, dude. That's a 3 from me.
Yeah, I would agree. You don't see a lot of Mr. Excitement throwback paint schemes. I think there's even one in the Xfinity series, so that's pretty cool to get to see a Jimmy Spencer paint scheme.
Oh, and here we go. John Hunter Nemechek's got himself a nice little throwback here to looks like Larson.
Yeah, it
No,
it looks like maybe an old Larson like Credit One scheme or something, but this is another like father like son. This is that old
Joe
Joe Nemechek
Nemechek.
paint scheme from 1998 where they were thrown back to the Bell South. So they weren't able to get the colors and everything right, like we said, but this would have been that blue Bell South car that was blue and like yellow, red.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, so they
I
got
think we
the they got the detail right and everything. So it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I know that the one that Joe Nemechek drove. I remember that now. Uh, it was in a NASCAR game, was it not?
It probably was. Probably an early one for sure. Maybe NR 98 or 99 or something.
So cool for John Hunter Nemechek to do this for his dad. Sure his dad would love to see this on track as well. 2 from me, just because of the color accuracy being off.
Yeah, I'll go. We'll just disagree on this one, and I'll go 1. It's
Take
it's
one.
a really cool scheme. Like if he was to run that every week, like I wouldn't be offended by it.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, because even the logo, they threw the logo back a little bit. I can tell.
Yeah, and even the number, that's
Even
not
the number font.
the typical number font he would run too. So
They should offset numbers like this. They don't really do that anymore.
yeah.
This one's going to be impossible not to give a 3.
Oh yeah, this is a 1998 throwback to John Andretti. So usually you look at this color scheme and most people think, oh, that's Richard Petty, but it's John Andretti this year. You see they have the color indicators on this where they've got the petty red, the petty blue, the petty dark blue, and the neon red orange. So you've got all that day glow on this car that'll be impossible to miss for his spotter this week or next weekend when they run Darlington.
What an iconic blue color, man.
Yeah, and that red neon orange, it really pops in the sunlight out there, so it'll look really cool. This graphic they submitted isn't the best, but when this car gets on the track, I think it'll be pretty sweet.
Definitely going to be badass, especially the folks that are on the track or at the track to see this. It'd be so cool. 3 from me.
Oh yeah, definitely 3 from me.
Now, I recognize the Jimmy Johnson car. I think they did a really cool thing with the Ally logo, kind of throwing it into the stripes here.
Yeah, yeah. So this obviously a Jimmy Johnson throwback. Jimmy Johnson won the 200th race for Hendrick Motorsports. So in that black paint scheme, so that's what Alex is throwing back to.
Yeah, I really like it. It was never my favorite paint scheme for Johnson. Obviously, you always like the Lowe's blue car with the yellow number and everything, but this is still badass. I wish they would have gone with the that other style and threw the yellow numbers on there, but I'm not mad at this. This is obviously still the 3.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely iconic. Even though it's a very recent paint scheme to throw back to, it's still like Jimmy Johnson made it iconic. So iconic paint schemes deserve to be ran, no matter how recently they ran. So yeah, it's definitely a 3.
That's it for our throwback cars to look at. So, do you have
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to add before we close out the show?
Yeah, I was just saying, let us know which one's your favorite. If your driver didn't have one on this episode, maybe they'll put one out in the next couple hours or the next few days. And one we missed is Joey Logano. I don't think he has one yet, so it'll be interesting to see if he has one. But yeah, just let us know which one is your favorite. Let us know who you think's going to win this weekend. All that good stuff.
Yeah, leave your ratings inside the comments or even in the chat. Rate them while we're watching. Other than that, guys, check out all of our socials. I'm sure the links are going to be in the description. If you want to get into the community engagement part of the show, just follow this guide, pop it up on screen here. But yeah, other than that, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.
And make sure to follow us on X at HighsidePod.
We'll be right back.